Hi, I'm Daniel Watkins. This lesson is going to serve as a bit of remedial history for my upper level students. In this video, we're going to talk about primary sources. What are they? Why are they important? And what do we do with them when we have them? Okay, let's get started. What is a primary source? Let's start with that question. And the basic answer is that a primary source is any artifact from the period of history that we are studying. And it can be any kind of artifact. A document, lots of different types of documents, anything from memoirs and letters to tax records to newspaper articles. It can be visual images like photographs or paintings. It can be cultural artifacts like novels or poetry. Really, any sort of artifact from the past that we're studying counts as a primary source. The thing that primary sources tend to have in common is that they're based on observation or experience. So they are documents or artifacts produced by people in the past about their experiences in that past. Why are primary sources important? Well, briefly, because they are the building blocks of history. Historians build their analyses of what happened in the past, and why it happened and how it happened, based on their ability to compile primary sources and then analyze those primary sources. All history starts with primary sources. Generally, the rule with primary sources among historians is the more primary sources, the better, and the more diverse the primary sources, the better. So, historians are always after a large source base, a large collection of primary sources, preferably a large collection of primary sources that come from different perspectives and that arrive in different styles and different types of documents and artifacts. What do historians do with these primary sources once they find them? Well, that's kind of the golden question, and that's what we're going to take the rest of the video to talk about. I spend a long time on this in my introductory level classes at Baylor University, but for the purposes of these upper level classes, I'm hoping you already have a little bit of experience with this. This video is just going to give you a few really quick strategies on the way that I teach the analysis of primary sources in my lower level classes. So I use the curriculum from the Stanford History Education Group. This is a really awesome organization that helps teach students about how to approach history and how to learn history. And so the stuff I'm going to give you right now comes from their curriculum, and I'm even going to provide you with some of their materials to help remind you of parts of this lesson. The first thing that you have to do with a primary source is you have to engage in what's called sourcing. Sourcing is essentially just figuring out what the document is and where it comes from. It's an essential step, an essential first step for analyzing primary sources. Documents come from lots of different people, and those people had various perspectives. It's essential to figure out what those perspectives were and how they show up in the document. The questions that you need to answer when you are sourcing a document are, first, who wrote this document? Who produced this document? What was the perspective of the author of this document? Why did the author produce this document? When did the author produce this document? And what is its purpose? What is the purpose of the document in the time and place that it was created? Ultimately, sourcing helps you figure out how reliable a document is to understand the past that it's describing. The second step is contextualization. This just means explaining how the document connects to what's going on in the world around it, right? How the document connects to the time and place that it was created. This is essential for understanding a document when you go to read it. The essential questions to answer when you're contextualizing a document are, when and where was this document created? What was going on at the time that it was created? And what was sort of different and same from different periods of time, including today. Okay, the third part of analyzing primary sources is corroboration. All this means is how does the document that you're looking at compare to other documents from the time? This is sort of the task of comparing and contrasting various primary sources to sort of paint a better picture of the past. Questions you need to answer to corroborate include, what does this document say? How is it different from what other documents say? How do they agree or disagree? And why? The basic rule that historians have is that the more documents that agree on a matter in the past, the more reliable that matter is. So if you're trying to figure out why something happened or how something happened, the more primary sources that agree on the answer to those questions, the more reliable your answer is going to be. Okay, the final step of analyzing primary sources is close reading. This just means reading a document carefully and thoughtfully and critically, paying attention to the details in the document, not just of what's being said, but also how it's being said. The main questions to answer here are: what claims does the author make? What kind of evidence does the author use to support those claims? And what kind of language does the author use to structure them, to tell them? Close reading is going to help you get the details that you need to create your own arguments about the past. It's going to help provide you with the information you need to use primary sources for the interpretation of the past. Okay, finally, for my upper level students, I have put together a worksheet that I will make available to you on the Canvas site. The worksheet is really helpful. It's a template, and you can download it and open up a new file for every new primary source that you read for this class. Fill out the worksheet. It'll help you go through this process of analyzing primary sources properly and help you use those primary sources for the purposes of the class and for the purpose of understanding the past better. Okay, that's it for this lesson on historical thinking. Stay tuned for the next one on secondary sources.